There we go. Fantastic. We get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Fleetio AdvantageOne Fleetio webinar here today in April 2026. I appreciate you guys joining. So as we get a few attendees rolling in, I'm just going to kind of get started here. Just a quick introduction to myself. Andrew Bembridge. I'm a sales engineer here at AdvantageOne. And I'm joined by my co-host, Jordan Osterfold. He's my communications expert, so he's also, if there's any questions in the chat, he's jumping in there to help me out. Today, we're going to be going over the Fleetio Fleet Management Information System. You might have heard the term FMIS floating around lots everywhere in your regular job, as well as just in every marketing brochure you see at trade conferences. We're going to get into what kind of the basics of an FMIS system and where Fleetio essentially makes your life a lot easier to work with. So to kind of get started off before I share my screen, basically a fleet management information system. In the very basics, it's essentially the upgrade. If you are currently tracking things on paper or in a big catalog Excel spreadsheet and noting down invoice numbers and storing them in your filing cabinets and just keeping track of when you think maintenance was done, things that need to go to the shop, pending invoices to be paid, kind of any outstanding bill backs or any coordination you're doing. An FMIS essentially is there to help you coordinate that digitally. And a lot of them, including Fleetio, incorporate being able to pull in things like geotab telematics. So instead of having to hand capture things like primary meters, so like your odometer or engine hours, having that operator send that back every night, either in the reports or directly to the supervisor, it can be collected automatically via your telematics solution. So say, for example, you have a geotab unit in your vehicle, it can pull the meters, it can pull fault codes. It basically is your eyes and ears on the road, and it sends back the information to your fleet management information system like Fleetio. So that way Fleetio knows if you got an engine code, it knows how many miles you've been driving, and that allows you to do things like automate your maintenance, capture issue reports. So if you do get a fault code, you can get it triaged, you can get it assigned to somebody, a technician, find a nearby shop that can take care of it as well through Fleetio's. We'll talk about that in a second. Fleetio has a maintenance network that basically makes it easier for you to locate nearby shops. And especially if you're in a scenario where you need to send somebody for a pretty important code or failure, and they can get farmed out to the nearest maintenance shop to get them safely repaired and back on the road. So here, I'm going to quickly just share my screen. I have a few, few slides for here to just show you. This is from our friends at Fleetio, so I'm just going to use some of the information actually to get everything synced up. It's effectively what I described there is kind of like what is an FMIS. Like I said, from the very basics, it's digitizing that information, pulling things in from systems like telematics, helping you organize things so that way you can get away from the spreadsheet, get away from all of the individual tracking pieces that you normally have to chase down during the day. And it allows you to have it all in a single place and do some automations that allow you to save some time and some money, and also catch problems that you normally have to run over top of a big, spend a bunch of time mulling through all of your spreadsheets to find out, hey, we saw a problem, there's some untracked maintenance or some untracked cost that slipped through the gaps. These are the kind of things that your FMIS can help you capture, as well as provide you information about things like your total cost of ownership on your per vehicle basis, help you calculate where it's optimal to replace a vehicle, and utilize a whole bunch of different tools in order to optimize your fleet and like I said, ideally save money and be more efficient in your operations. So that's where Fleetio comes in. So far, in my experience, it has been like the best FMIS that I've worked with in a long time. Not only is it on the geotab marketplace, so it's easy to subscribe and get started, Fleetio makes it super easy to, and like to say, achieve your ideal maintenance workflow here. So the tooling I found is really easy to use. I registered for a demo account actually a few weeks ago, and was pleasantly surprised after having it implement in my previous life, implementing scenarios where connecting users and getting them hooked up to the system was already kind of a longer IT related process. Getting set up with Fleetio was literally a handful of clicks. It asked me all I need to know about. It needs to know about my fleet, how many vehicles I have in it, what I use during the day, what kind of system do I want to talk to, and it really kind of helped me get started. It was an easy solution to be able to convert myself away from those spreadsheets. So the big thing here is that entire life cycle of having all of your triggers, so you don't have to worry about things. You can set things up so the timer goes off when you hit a certain threshold for a PM schedule, or for an oil change, or for just a maintenance alert that comes across your desk. Things that get automatically dispatched in order to actually make sure things get done correctly, but you didn't miss anything. So no one's forgetting to tell you about that engine light that popped on the other day. So that actually gets automatically fed in for your Geotab telematics if you connected them, and helps you get better visibility into your fleet. As well as once you actually have it in the roster, you have an issue report. Collaborating with folks in your team, so having notes and other documentation you can tag, share between different users, and have a bit more of a conversational approach as you're looking through that maintenance log to understand who's been involved, what work has been done, what new tickets, work orders, things like that have been dispatched, as well as actually getting it then out to the shop, whether it's your shop or you're sending it off to one of your authorized contractors, or many of the nationwide chains that you might have nearby. If you farm out that work, you can coordinate that within Fleetio to be able to have everything viewable and keep tabs in your fleet. The big thing there is the visibility and the ability to get that data coming from Geotab. And then really just overall for Fleetio, the nice part is that on top of being really friendly, like I mentioned, it took me like 5-10 minutes to get started with Fleetio. Obviously, getting an FMIS project going has a few more moving parts than that. So having easy to use software just lowers those barriers and lowers some of those friction points. One thing I really do enjoy about Fleetio as well is really that it doesn't change to the desktop. You have the mobile app Fleetio Go, and that app works great for both operators to do things like inspections and submit issues, as well as your supervisors or your foremen, where they can manage their fleet from their phone. So they're not constantly breaking the laptop out just to be able to read through their system. They can do a lot of tasks on their Fleetio app on their phone, so they can stay connected with you in the back office without having to constantly say, hey, I need to pull over so I can open my laptop and poke around. They can pull over, quickly do the work on their phone and get back on the road and going. So mobile, collaborative, and being able to automate some of these features out. So like I said, I was mentioning the telematics thing a lot, and I am priming that in your brains, because we also have I'm going to talk about and briefly here in a moment about some of the integrations that we have with Fleetio, as well as our own bi-directional integration that AdvantageOne developed. So we've improved upon what Fleetio has already done and added our own functionality. So that's an additional bit of a value add with combining your AdvantageOne services with something like Fleetio, is that we have the technical expertise to build bonus things that actually do valuable work for you, and keep things a little bit more, the ship running a little bit easier, and not having to worry about whether or not your Geotab partner has the technical skills to support your entire fleet ecosystem. So that's where we come in, super helpful. And I'll talk about that in a quick second, because it's a great little example of the extendability of Fleetio as well. So if you have in-house folks that are very technically savvy, they probably also love it, because they can link a lot of stuff in from Fleetio into their own systems. Traditionally, where we have that barrier of a lot of products not wanting to talk to each other, Fleetio really excels in that world as well. So Geotab, combination of Geotab plus Fleetio, that makes your reporting and your data folks really happy, And that also makes you really happy because you now have a proper fleet management system under your belt, and it's easy to use. It's automated. You can do it from your phone, which is really great. And also, it's easy to understand where some of this work has been done because you can actually tag real people in there and have that kind of conversational like chat to say, this is what we've done today, or this is what was done in this work order. So super helpful to pull that information and have that collaboration element involved as well. So it's pretty awesome. I was talking about the farm outs a lot before. So just to touch on that, Fleetio has a significantly large network of third-party maintenance shops around the country, especially US and Canada, focused on the US a lot. So if you have contracts with like a Napa Auto Parts or say like, I'm trying to remember some of the fleet dealers in being popular fleet dealers. I apologize. I'm Canadian. I'm tripping myself up here. So either way though, you have your third-party maintenance contractors. If they are in part of the Fleetio maintenance network, they're easy to farm jobs out to and automate some of that work inside of the system, as well as put certain cost controls and authorizations in place to stop things from just happening without your control, but knowing that it's going to be predictable automation that you can get prompted to say, these can be sent over to a third-party shop, and helpful directions for you to handle those situations. So lots of great pieces in there. It really helps in a pinch if you can send your truck to a shop if they're far flung and away on a job, and still have accountability and visibility inside of your FMIS. And there's a little bit more here. I'll zoom in on the slide deck here a little bit. Just a little bit more about how that workflow happens. So, those work orders trigger your approvals, whether it's automatic or you need to review it by hand. And that data flow goes back and forth between the shop. Fleetio takes care of that data exchange for you. So a lot less phone calls flying around, which is really nice. So you can get everything back inside of Fleetio and not have to be on the phone as much. So super helpful and really powerful differentiator that you see with different competitors in the FMIS space is that these guys have this kind of maintenance network built in. So it's already part of Fleetio. It's not a third party, contract firm. It's part of Fleetio themselves. And which means they get a direct hand-on experience to make sure your experience is good. All right. So actually this lovely deck is super helpful in the sense that, it's like really when they say start simple, I was talking about how I registered even a starter account to get going a few weeks ago. And it really is super simple to start up with. Once you basically get registered and you connect it to everything, all the basic information in, it's really as simple as getting your vehicle list built out into the system, hooking up any integrations. So when I say integrations, that's GeoTab, that might be your fuel card system like WEX, that might be tire information coming from, say, like a Revo, TPMS solution, things that generate data and triggers for you inside of Fleetio to alert you when things happen. So meter thresholds are reached, fault codes come through, tires are low or showing some kind of fault. That information can inform your automations and make your life easier inside the system. So lower barrier to entry, which makes things a lot easier because everybody's pretty busy. And having one more project on your plate to do a large maintenance system integration is a big section of time out of your day. So it's important for us to make sure that you have a good experience and you have lower barriers to entry. And it really is as simple to get started with some of this stuff. So I'm going to poke around and show, actually, I'll have a demo account I'll show you here in a minute to let you know basically kind of what that actually looks like inside the Fleetio system. Okay, fantastic. So that overall, before we jump in, I'm going to jump into the integration part in a quick second, just because I want to really remind everybody how valuable that piece is, especially when you start linking these systems together, which is where we get more value and more usefulness in the reporting, and that way everybody stays in sync. the team works better together, and we're leveraging these digital tools the way they're really meant to be used. So before I get into kind of demo, I do want to talk about the integration portion. So we do have at AdvantageOne, we have our very own Geotab integration and Fleetio integration to make sure those two systems actually stay in lockstep with each other. So we've connected, basically what we did is we built our integration as a two-way bidirectional integration. So out of the box, Fleetio typically would just pull from the system. So it's not going to go send anything back to it, but it will it'll go into the Geotab and say, okay, you have, 25 vehicles in your fleet. Here's what they are. Here's all of your Fords. Here's all of your, here's all your F-150s and your Silverados. And here's all of your other, some of your yellow iron. It'll pull that information in. And then it reads the meters, reads the fault codes, things like that to keep you up to date. But what it doesn't do is phone back the Geotab and update certain elements over there. So the nice part about our integration is we built those additional pieces in here at AdvantageOne. So things like driver assignments crossing over into the Fleetio world. So normally there's a feature in Fleetio where you can assign an operator and say, this is the person that's actually in this vehicle, or at least expected to be in this vehicle today, or kind of their basic assignment for take-home vehicle. If you're already doing that inside of Geotab, there's not a lot of value in having to have someone do it twice. So part of this integration is to sync over things like those driver assignments. So that way, and when the driver hops onto their apps or onto using their NFC badge, it translates into both systems. So you have essentially accurate records on both sides where this vehicle was and who was assigned to it. So super helpful. And then the additional, basically it's like pulling in I might just pull up this slide here. So, sorry, excuse me. So the kind of the idea of this integration is that we want to push data in the Geotab. So if there's updated pieces in Fleetio, that essentially keeps everything synced up and ready to go. If you have any questions about that, how this integration works, please get in touch with us. I don't want to spend the next 20 minutes explaining exactly what it does, but it has great value. So please reach out if you're curious about how we've actually leveraged the Geotab and Fleetio extensibility to build extra bonus pieces on top of the platform to make your life easier. So I'm going to jump into our demonstration environment just to show you around, because showing you slide decks is great. We get a sense of what the system is capable of, where we're targeting certain things, like maybe we have better cost visibility into every invoice that comes in and out. We're not very good at reporting currently with that. That's maybe one of those major items that I want to get out of my conversion to Fleetio. What are my reporting showing how many vehicles are currently being repaired, how much they're costing, what's my projected, kind of best spot to consider replacing this vehicle. Am I able to farm this maintenance out to somebody if I don't have capacity? How can I schedule that? How can I get alerts when people miss their maintenance windows? Somebody forgot to bring their vehicle in for their regular PM schedule and it never got done. How do I see that, and how do I get information on that so I can actually really take care of that compliance issue, take care of that reporting information, get that insight into my costs and my current open orders. It's pretty easy in Fleetio. Actually, the dashboard that we're looking at right now is already telling me a pretty good chunk about what's going on in my fleet. And the best part is that they're interactive. So if you use other solutions before where the graphic is just sitting there and telling you what's going on, it refreshes every 5 minutes. This is like a nice little extra handy piece where you can actually interact with these graphs and see where some of your trends are coming from and what's currently active. Versus, in this case, this is repair priorities, whether it's scheduled emergency maintenance, not scheduled maintenance. Finding out where those components sit and essentially what's taking up time in your technicians' lives right now. what's taking time up in your back office of what's coming in the fleet and demanding demanding repairs up on the table here. Information about what kind of service reminders. So that's everything from something you configure yourself to automate things like oil life. What's popping open for things that are going to be coming up on your board. What's overdue, tire rotations, engine oil changes, things that you've put in as a scheduled maintenance item or wear item that you want visibility into of who's been not bringing their vehicle back to the base and into the shop. So you can go reach out to those folks and get that work completed. So dashboards are interactive. The reporting that they give you is full of information, but easy to digest. And overall, it's like I mentioned earlier, it's easy to jump into, even if you don't have a ton of experience with the digital system. They've designed it so that way it's easy to jump into and really understand without too much extra friction. So let's take a look actually at one of these. Really, like, actually we have a service reminder of an overdue tire rotation, and I just wanted to actually show basically how can we manage that behavior and kind of how easy is it to interact with. So when I jump into my dashboard there and I said, oh, I have 23 open reminders, it's going to bring me over to the service reminder section here. I get a list of what's overdue, what's currently coming up, and I have the ability to do a handful of nice things with this. So I can resolve it then and there. I know that work's been done, and I can say, hey, you know what, this is actually completed. Somebody just forgot to update the record. We can immediately just add the completed service in, make sure it's taken care of, and bundle it as a brand new entry on the record of the vehicle, or just add it to a work order that was already completed. So that way we just have that everything lined up in one spot. That service got completed, but it just didn't get recorded. We can fix it up. You can also add it to a work order. You can basically assign it to additional work orders. You can put your comments on that. You create a brand new work order. So this was not done. I need to take care of it. And I can mark this as I'm going to mark it as a non-scheduled repair party. I'm going in by hand, and they've missed the mark by a handful of miles. I need to go get this done. And I can report this and mark when I've scheduled it into the system as well. So when I've got that vehicle in for my appointment, I know that it's scheduled to start, on the 30th, and I'm expecting it to come into the shop. And I can send a reminder out as well. So I can actually tell somebody about this and say, don't forget, this vehicle needs to come into the shop. So really practical things. So without getting too deep into the actual individual chunks of the actual of the forms, the idea here is wanted to illustrate is that I work behind a desk in the sense that I haven't been underneath the vehicle in a very long time in terms of going out to the shop and repairing something. So I am interacting with the system that I don't work with every day. I don't repair. I'm not repairing vehicles and logging maintenance, but within a handful of clicks, I was able to come in and say, okay, I have something I need to report. Somebody forgot to tell me about this tire rotation, and I need to go put it on file. And without much friction at all, I was able to identify where I wanted to go. Easily recognizable. I have a service reminder that's overdue, and it made sense for me how to basically go add that paperwork in. That task has been completed. I can move on to the next portion. So as a kind of adding things in by hand without any assistance, the Fleetio folks have done a great job designing this software to push that kind of ease of usability forward. Actually, one topic I do want to jump into as well here. Actually, I'm going to show you a couple of quick things. And then I'm going to actually, I noticed that's my colleague, Ed Gelfie. He's our VP of Public Sector Operations here at Advantage. Also, Fleetio wizard, knows this thing inside and out. Ed, I might just call on you here briefly. I'll make you an organizer. If you wanted to offer any additional insights into Fleetio, what's going on here. So we have something that's very relevant too. So you don't have to necessarily directly have access to GeoTab in order to see locations of your fleet and what's happening. Oh, there, awesome. Thanks, Jordan. We have visibility into our vehicles, just like we have in our GeoTab telematic system, where we can see the current status of our maintenance history, what's open, if there's anything problem happening, where we just are open for. So helpful visibility powered by your GeoTab integration and our AdvantageOne bidirectional integration there. And thanks for joining us, Ed. We're taking the folks around a tour of Fleetio right now. So since you have used Fleetio as a very practical item in your daily life, what kind of insights would you like to offer us about what you've actually been able to accomplish and what's been really valuable for you in the Fleetio platform?
I mean, one of the most valuable, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. I wanted to make sure I wasn't muted. One of the most valuable tools that Fleetio does is they have probably the best integration with GeoTab that I have seen in the marketplace yet. Regardless of if you're doing DVIRs or what's going on in the GeoTab platform, it pushes over seamlessly into Fleetio. We're setting one up currently for a customer, and they like using the DVIR platform within the GeoTab, so using the GeoTab Drive app. And it's it's incredible how you can do a DVIR with that app. It gets pushed over into the Fleetio platform. It comes over as an issue, and you can set workflows to say, yep, we want them to come over as critical issues or whatever. It can be added to a work order, resolved in the Fleetio platform, and gets pushed right back to the GeoTab Drive app so that the next person or the driver can see how well that the vehicle has been repaired and is back on the road. Bringing in fault codes, setting up workflows within the system. You can decide what fault codes you want the system to pull in and what fault codes you want to say, we don't need these at all. It's just an incredible, powerful tool how the two systems can work hand in hand. And you can give people access to GeoTab, you can give people access to Fleetio, you can keep those two separate, but they can both see the information that's relevant to their job. I said you have, like Andrew was saying, you could have people that are sitting behind a desk and doing nothing but, fleet maintenance management and really have no access to GeoTab, but can still see all of the GeoTab information. That, and then as you touched on earlier, the shop network for anybody that's doing outside vendor work, to be able to just, have your drivers being able to go into a location that's, you can predetermine those locations. You can make preferred providers. You could shut down providers, and you could say, yep, drivers can only go to this one, or this one. How that information, when a driver brings it to that location, they quotes come over. You can set pre-approval levels. You can say, yep, anything under $100 per se can automatically get approved. Anything over that to a certain threshold can get primary approval by one person. If it receives a secondary threshold, it'll have to get two approvals. You can pick and choose items if they bring it in for an oil change or a tire rotation, but the shop says, oh yeah, it needs wiper blades and cabin air and all that kind of stuff. That quote can come over, and the admin can say, nope, they are only approved to do the oil change and the tire rotation, and they can unapprove those, and then the shop was only approved to do those certain things. So, I mean, Fleetio is a very robust program. To do a 2-minute segment on what's great about it is difficult, but those are the three areas that I see that this program, this platform is head and shoulders above many of the other FMIS systems.
No, awesome. I really appreciate that, and your practical experience on this is invaluable. Uh, I think big picture, ease of use, and very quick integrations and powerful integration, things like the GeoTab platform are big winners here. So trying to get a new FMIS solution coming into your organization, like I said, it can be a fairly challenging prospect. So lowering barriers of easy to use intuitive tools, ability to farm out maintenance, set real thresholds and real workflows to make sure that that's something you don't have to spend all the time on the phone approving and negotiating through. Really keeps that efficient and reduces the amount of hours and extra labor that you're doing just to oversee your organization and your maintenance obligations, and really turning that and using those hours for productive time and getting things fixed. So less time you're spending doing overhead, the more time you're actually getting work done. And Fleetio being a big partner in that. So you're also not missing anything. And if you get busy, you're not losing anything, because all the information is coming in from places like GeoTab, where you can get those meter readings, time those service intervals, and find out if anything's going wrong, so you can take care of it and get it fixed right then and there. And it's super easy to buy, which is great too. So going through AdvantageOne and GeoTab Marketplace, super easy to get started and get information, like basically get things rolling without needing to go through a potentially multi-stage, IT deployment project. It's super simple, and it can be deployed. And Ed, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, this is not counting all the additional work to actually get everything pulled in, but getting started with Fleetio is as simple as, I think, a handful of clicks. Right? We can get started.
Handful of clicks.
Yep. Super simple.
And then once you tie the GeoTab database into the Fleetio platform, it pulls over all of the devices, and you can accept them when you put new vehicles in it. How easily it is to decode the VINs. It's incredible. There's no manual labor involved in that. It all flows very easily. And then the longer you use the Fleetio platform and the more data that comes into it, being able to do total cost of ownership and then vehicle replacement analysis and all of that stuff for really the fleet admin side is just, it's invaluable when it comes to being able to capture all of that data. It has a great, if you're using FuelMaster or you're using WEX cards or however you're getting your fueling, it can bring all of that fueling data into Fleetio very simply and add all of that to the total cost of ownership. And again, this has not been in operation very long, but it will give you where the sweet spot is to start replacing vehicles. And when a vehicle starts to get 4 or 5 years old, and it has that much data, you'll be able to say, yep, that's 7 years is the perfect spot to replace these vehicles. And you can manipulate that as much as you want with your own numbers, But again, it has a great parts system in it, so on. I could go on and on and on and on, but it is very easy to set up, like Andrew said, and importing parts, importing stuff. It's got great capabilities for all of that, as far as setting it up. So.
Actually, that's a great mention too. I didn't touch on the fuel portion yet. Right now that is a huge deal considering the current state of the world. Diesel prices going up and up and up. Managing your fuel and getting insights on that is critical. So that data coming from both your WEX cards or your other fuel cards, along with GeoTab signaling for when you fueled up, where you filled up, and essentially what we measured back as what was put into the tank. Super helpful to keep controlling your fuel costs and get visibility into that as part of your full total cost of ownership too, because that's the big thing. I started off this presentation really kind of underscoring the fact that you're moving off of things where you would lose information, or you'd have to go back and spend a bunch of time poring over a spreadsheet and making reports and things like that and figuring out where stuff was and what stuff went missing. Converting to an FMIS or a fleet management information system like Fleetio, especially, keeps you on the ball and has all this information in front of you, so you can make those data-driven decisions. So like Ed was talking about, seeing your total cost of ownership, including things like fuel, and where that maintenance obligation hits to it's optimal to replace a vehicle. When you start looking early, and you have that information to forecast where you're going to need to replace things, your operation becomes a lot more predictable and a lot easier to control.
Yeah. The other great integration is with recalls. I know when I was managing fleet, getting vehicle recalls into the system was painful at best. This system uses the VIN numbers for the vehicles, and then it has a direct link to the NTSB to be able to see, or NHTSA, and to be able to see those recalls and make actionable items on them. If a new recall, if you have had a vehicle in your fleet that's been in your fleet for 4 years, and I'm going to pick on Ford because I like to, and Ford comes out with a new recall on that, it'll automatically be pulled into the Fleetio system, and you'll see it, in the recall page, underneath the vehicle page. There's a couple of different spots you can see it, and then you can action on those, right? If you're able to handle recalls in-house, you can handle it in-house. If you're using the shop network, you can use this tool to schedule it with the shop. You don't even have to leave the Fleetio platform to schedule and reach out to a shop to get a recall handled. They'll be able to see all that and how you want to handle it. So, again, I dealt with, been managing fleets for a lot of years, and recalls were always an issue. I could share a picture of the mail bin when, we had 1,800 Fords, and Ford came out with a recall, and it basically was across the entire fleet. And I got 1,800 recall cards in 2 weeks. Again, it can be difficult to process. This, you don't even have to deal with opening up mail and finding the vehicles via VIN. Fleetio does it for you.
It's there right away, which is fantastic. Yeah, huge time savers. Really spending a lot less time on the overhead collecting information. And yeah, I feel like having to sit there and sort through, how many thousands of individual recall cards. Give me just a list on my computer and let me just batch those out and get them assigned to technicians and to shops to make sure they get taken care of. So, no, I really appreciate that. I think overall, you've heard the benefits of Fleetio. Some of the features themselves are awesome to see, but it's also, like I said, that return on your time, return on the amount of hours spent, like for your staff and yourself spent on managing the overhead and the administrative work, and then having that direct visibility into your fleet. All the information is collected here. Everything's tied together in an intelligent way. You can set essentially your automation, your patterns on how you want things to happen when things break down, or when you've hit certain targets. What happens when you receive certain things like a notification or a recall? Keeping that efficiency in your fleet, so you're freed up to do more repair work and get just actually have more time to look forward in the fleet rather than maybe being reactive. So proactive or reactive, and Fleetio is the tool to help you get that.
Yeah. And then the flexibility of setting the system up, like I said, it's very simple, but it can also be very robust. We have found, setting up the system for others, and they're like, well, we need this special field within the vehicle because it's something that we track internally. You can go right into settings and you can add fields to virtually any screen that you want. You can add a field to the vehicle screen, and again, if you're using a different equipment number, you're doing something special, you can absolutely add that very quickly to that to the vehicle screen. I just had one that they had multiple part numbers for specific parts, but they wanted to see them all. So we basically just was able to create 3 different part numbers all listed right down below each other, so that when we imported vehicle parts, they could see all of those. They could look up a thermostat. It would show all of those part numbers individually. Again, the flexibility of it is pretty much endless.
Yeah, I think we made a fan out of you, Ed, especially. I'm glad, and that's why I'm glad I got to see you here today, because I knew you have had robust experience with this platform, and it shows on the operational end, right? Too, just like overview things on the overview of what it is and how it can save you money, and then Ed pops in and he's got practical examples of exactly how that happened. And those were all enabled by AdvantageOne and Fleetio. And that's where that power comes from. So with that, I'm going to end today's presentation. Thank you very much for coming today, Ed. Thanks to Jordan for your help organizing this event. And to our attendees, and anybody watching this after the fact, please reach out to us at AdvantageOne.tech to get online, or if you have reach out to us directly via email or phone, and happy to have a conversation with you about how Fleetio and AdvantageOne can really drive your organization forward and get that ROI that all the business folks really want from you, and also give you a really good maintenance experience and fleet management tool to help you really get through your days and build on your fleet and really make things awesome. So thank you very much, everyone, and have
Thank you, everyone.
a great afternoon.